right, hello everyone. I'm meteorologist Tony Petrarca. Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Forecast. Alongside of me, my partner, meteorologist TJ Del Santo. We're going well beyond the forecast and the atmosphere. We're going, TJ, up into space. I mean, this has been on our calendar for a long time. We've been pretty excited about this. Of course, the solar eclipse coming up on April 8th, Monday. We have a wealth of information for you in the next roughly 20, 25 minutes and getting a lot of questions. It's not often, I mean, to get a near total eclipse in this area. It's been a while.
Eclipses aren't rare. Solar eclipses aren't rare. There's usually a couple around the world somewhere. But to get them in the United States, it's kind of rare. Like, maybe once every 5 years or so is at least a bit of an eclipse. But to get it in New England, in our backyard, so exciting.
And to get, we're not getting total here, but we're getting some decent coverage. It's about 90%. But up in northern New England, which we'll talk about shortly, it'll be a total eclipse. Weather permitting, obviously. Now, as of this taping on April 4th, we're still kind of leaning towards Monday being okay.
Yeah,
which is rare considering it's rained for the last 100 days.
I know a lot of people were actually planning on going to Texas for some reason because it's usually the sunniest part for this time of year, and it looks like they could be cloudy, maybe even with severe weather. But we're taping this on Thursday, so it's a ways away. But yeah, New England's looking like the best spot.
So we have, obviously we know the exact path in terms of not just the entire country, but here in New England, and we built some graphics for you to show. We'll punch that up, TJ, and you can see the totality is that darker path. And notice it passes through where you and I have spent a lot of time up in northern Vermont, places like Lindenville, where we both went to meteorology school. But northern New England, Burlington, northern New Hampshire, total eclipse, meaning at some point it'll actually get dark.
Dark.
In that part of the world.
Yeah, the moon will cover the sun. And you'll see like a ring of fire right around the edge, which is super cool. You'll be able to see stars and planets. Now, we're not going to be able to see that around here. As you mentioned, we're only looking at about a 90% of an eclipse. But, it's still going to be pretty cool. If you are in that path of totality, as it's called, this is what it will look like, that ring of fire, with the moon coming between the Earth and the sun, and we're actually seeing the shadow of the moon being cast on the United States from Mexico through Texas right up into northern New England. And you'll see that ring of fire right around the edge of the moon, which is really cool. We won't see that, however.
So if anyone's traveling to northern New England, this is what it looks like. And as we both know, it's been a very active solar period where we've been getting a lot of flares off the surface of the sun. Could some folks up in northern New England get lucky enough so that when it's completely covered, that we see maybe some filaments or some flares, which would be difficult to see otherwise unless you have an eclipse? Maybe seeing that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some big explosions on the sun, and I think you'll probably be able to see them right on the edge of, where that moon just touches the edge of the sun. Pretty cool.
All right, so we're talking partial, where roughly it was about 90 to 92%. Really anywhere in Rhode Island, pretty much the same deal. I think if you go a little further north, your percentage may be just
a little bit
higher.
You know what? It's either totality or nothing. That's the way to look at it. Even if you're at 99%, you see just a little crack of the sun, it's still going to be very different compared to what you'll see in totality. And we'll talk about that. But here's what we're expecting to see. The whole eclipse starts at about 2:15 in the afternoon on Monday, April 8th. This is our maximum eclipse. It almost looks like a crescent sun, which is kind of cool.
So that's at 3:29.
So about 3:30 in the afternoon. That's maximum eclipse.
And that'll stay that way. We're thinking maybe about 4.5 minutes.
A few minutes, yeah. And, you might see some of the brightest stars shining, maybe a couple of planets, but you have to know what you're looking at. Our sky, I don't think, is going to go dark.
And that has been a misconception maybe with some people that we're going to go totally dark on Monday. But with 90% coverage, is it more of a dusk, kind of a sunrise, kind of a dim look to the sky?
I think a little brighter than sunrise. I think that's what it's going to look like. We had an eclipse 7 years ago, in 2017. And the sky did get dark, and I think that was only about an 80% eclipse. But it did get, I wouldn't say dark, dimmer than it normally was. And I think that's kind of what we're expecting. And the whole show is over about 4:30 in the afternoon or so, and then the sun comes back out. It might get a little bit cooler. I think people might notice that. Without that sunlight, the temperature could drop a few degrees. That's certainly possible.
And in those areas in totality in northern New England, you may see an 8 or 9 degree temperature drop. I've heard in the past animals that normally would not come out will come out. Crickets chirping.
Yeah, you might see skunks roaming around. Usually it's nighttime. They might be all confused. Yeah, crickets chirping. You might actually see a comet in the sky if you're in totality. Just to the left of the eclipse, you might actually see a comet hanging in the sky, which is really cool.
So the difference, I think we have another graphic, the difference between partial and total. And there we go. And obviously there's a huge difference. And what you're seeing on the right-hand side is what they'll experience up in northern New England, Burlington, Vermont, northern New Hampshire. And then what we'll see here on Monday is pretty much the graphic on the left.
I think some people might not even realize anything's going on. I mean, it's still going to be pretty bright outside on Monday afternoon. A little dimmer than normal. It's almost like a cloud is covering the sun, a dark cloud. So you might notice, the light changing, but it's nothing. It won't seem terribly unusual. If you didn't know what was going on, if you've lived under a rock and you're up in Vermont, under northern New Hampshire, or upstate New York, and you didn't know that the eclipse was happening, you would really be, wondering what is going on. It's just going to turn dark.
Percentage-wise, locally, and there are subtle differences between, say, northern Rhode Island and along the coastline, but it's generally in that upper 80s to kind of lower 90s percentage of percent being covered. Maybe a 2% advantage the further north you go, but it's pretty much. There's really not a bad spot anywhere, granted the skies are clear.
Just got to look up. And you're going to need your safety glasses.
Put them on. Let's put them on right now. Now, what's amazing?
I can't see anything.
Now, we have studio lights in here. We cannot.
I can see a light just a little bit.
So that's how, almost like welding goggles. I mean,
Yeah.
they're super, super thick. Actually, you look pretty good in that.
Thank you.
So, and some people say, okay, well, I don't have these approved glasses, but I have, some really nice, expensive sunglasses. And survey said, no, you can't. The sunglasses do not work.
Not strong enough, that's for sure. If you can't see anything in normal light, they're probably okay, but there's still some fakes out there. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that they're approved glasses.
There are some chain stores that are offering, online, if you have time to get them, but there's some chain stores that are actually offering some of the glasses as well. So it's not too late to.
Yeah, some of the big box stores has them. That's where I actually got mine. These are my glasses from the 2017 eclipse, which is kind of cool. Yeah, they're still good.
You know what? That doesn't surprise me one bit. They still have them from 2017. No, we did a story a couple of days ago, and we were talking about this off camera. NASA with going to launch rockets.
Yes.
So somehow do some experiments and some studying, because it's not often that you get this kind of opportunity.
Yeah, we actually, 3 rockets. 3 rockets they're launching 45 minutes before, during, and after the eclipse. And they're going to study how things change in the atmosphere, depending upon how much sunlight is hitting it, which is really, really neat.
So, all right, so NASA's already ahead of the game on that. As far as tips for safe viewing, of course, obviously we talked about the glasses. Do we have some safety tips? We do. This is amazing how the graphics just pop right up. So some of this, the obvious stuff here is do not look up without the protective eyewear.
That goes for any time. It's not just during eclipses. I think everybody knows, don't look directly at the sun ever. It's the same for an eclipse. The sun is still very dangerous rays coming out of it. You might not even notice that your eyes are damaged right away. Sometimes it can happen like a couple of days after you start noticing spots on your eyes.
Because I heard that your retina doesn't have any pain receptors, so you can do damage to your retina. You don't necessarily feel it, and then, as you said, a couple of days later you can start to see some impacts from what you weren't supposed to do.
Yes.
And even now, when it's in totality, obviously, glasses off, you can look. But even here, when we're 92% covered, but we still have that sliver of sun with rays coming out the one side, still not safe.
Absolutely need the glasses. Yep. Absolutely, 100%. You need the glasses anytime you're looking up at the sun.
Marcus, how about the iPhone and cameras? It's pretty much the same argument. not just for your eyes, but potential damage to camera lenses and things like that.
Yeah, you have to have solar filters on telescopes. Another thing, don't look through a telescope unless there's a solar filter on it, because you're focusing that light right into your eye, and when you're looking through the eyepiece, make sure there's a solar filter on that. Yeah, even your cell phones. You could damage your phone if you leave the camera exposed to the light, and it could damage your eyes as well, because you're kind of like this, looking directly at it, and the sun's rays could get right into your eyes. They do make special filters for your camera so that you can cover things.
Okay.
I still would look toward the sun, but they do make special filters for your camera to protect your camera.
I remember in grade school we made the solar eclipse viewers out of a shoebox. And now, Lee, correct me. We have that on our website. So on our website, kids can build these solar viewers with it's a cardboard shoebox, some tape, some aluminum foil, some scissors. And go to our website, WPRI.com. The kids can build that, and that's a kind of a safe way of looking at the eclipse as well. And there's time to do that. I mean, I should say this right now. On our website, WPRI.com, oh my God, there's just a ton.
There's tons of stuff.
So whatever we're not covering here or what we may have missed, you can go to our website, and then you'll see just a whole bunch of information.
You know what's another cool way to look at the eclipse? Get a spaghetti strainer. And just...
You are so Italian.
You know, all the holes, some people call it a colander.
Yeah.
You just kind of like put the wide part,
looking
toward the sun,
with this.
and you'll see like 100 eclipses like shining on like a cardboard or something, which is kind of neat.
That's pretty much what the cardboard shoebox is. It's one pinhole, you'll see one, but with the spaghetti strainer, you can view the eclipse and then have some pasta al dente with marinara sauce later.
A little garlic bread.
I like that idea. We've all right. So as far as like in Rhode Island locally, where we can go and things like that, we're going to take this a step further. And meteorologist Stephen Matrigrano looked into that, and we're going to talk about that in more detail. Take a look.
A lot of the visual impacts will depend on the weather conditions here on April 8th, but are the odds against us when it comes to seeing the solar eclipse here in southern New England? April is often known as one of the windiest months in southern New England, but it's also one of the rainiest, which means lots of clouds. For early April, historically the lowest percentage of cloud cover is found across the southwestern United States, but as you move further north, particularly along the path of totality, the percentage of cloud cover increases. Southern New England usually sees about 60 to 70% chance of clouds for early April. In fact, looking back at the last 10 years of weather on the date April 8th, all 10 years had at least some clouds in the sky. The years 2016, 2018, 2021, and 2023 had a blend of sun and clouds, whereas 2014, 2015, 2019, and 2020 had mostly cloudy skies. Cloud cover would hinder visibility of the eclipse, which is why if you're making plans to view it, keep an eye on the forecast. Now, the path of totality, or locations that will see the moon cover 100% of the sun, moves through Texas, northeastward through Arkansas and Missouri, and continues into Indiana and Ohio. The path then moves over parts of Lake Erie into the northeast across parts of northern New England. For those locations, onlookers will be able to see what is known as the Ring of Fire as the moon covers the sun. And make sure to stay safe if you want to view the eclipse by having the proper eyewear to do so. You can find that information and more about the solar eclipse on our website at WPRI.com. In the Weather Yard, Stephen Matrigrano, 12 News.
All right, thanks, Stephen. And we were talking off camera. There are like viewing parties. There are certain places that are really taking this a step further, and I think Roger Williams Park.
Roger Williams Park is one. Frosty Drew Observatory, Skyscrapers up in North Situate. Their observatory. Yes, yep. I've been there many times. Actually, during the 2017 eclipse, when I got these glasses, that's where I was, at the Skyscrapers Observatory on Peep Toad Road in North Situate. Look them up. They'll have some displays for you, and you can watch it, I think, live. I think they're going to have a live display of the eclipse there. And there's other smaller ones, like, I live in Situate, so I think the Hope Library has a little party, the North Situate Library. And if you're wondering where you can get eclipse glasses, a lot of the libraries are offering eclipse glasses. So, check in your town. You might have some local parties for you to attend and maybe learn a few things.
And still not too late to get these locally in some stores.
I checked, yeah, there's still quite a few in some of the local stores, and you know Amazon, they'll deliver
the same day.
The same day sometimes.
Okay, now as far as we talked about this on a local scale, now as a regional scale in New England, lucky enough, a 4.5 hour drive north. Good luck finding a place to stay with reservations and things.
I saw one hotel had one night left, Sunday night, $1,700. I've actually stayed in that hotel. It's not worth $1,700. It's a nice hotel, but it's not worth $1,700.
But meteorologist Katie McNeil talks about the eclipse on the New England level, and especially up north where it'll be in totality. Hi, Katie.
We'll be seeing around a 90% eclipse here in Rhode Island, but only certain spots across the country will be in the path of totality, where the sun will be 100% covered by the moon. Here in New England, New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont are all included in this path. If you're willing to make the trip, Burlington, Vermont is one of the cities located in the path of totality. Viewers will be able to see totality for about 3 minutes at this location, starting at 3:26 in the afternoon on April 8th. Local officials are expecting over 60,000 people to come through the town of St. Albans, which is right outside of Burlington.
We've had several meetings with emergency management officials, with the chamber people, with local hotels.
In Texas, residents and officials in the town of Sulphur Springs are also beginning preparations, as Texas historically has the best weather for the viewing in April, as well as the longest time in totality at 4 minutes and 21 seconds.
I want people to feel like they can come here and have a safe trip here and enjoy what we believe is just going to be a fantastic day.
One thing to be mindful of when viewing the eclipse is that the proper eyewear is a must. Looking directly at the sun during a solar eclipse can cause permanent eye damage. Wearing proper eclipse glasses will allow you to view the sun safely. When buying these glasses, check for ones that have an ISO certification label, which are specifically made for viewing the sun. And for more info about the best viewing spots ahead of the eclipse, you can head to our website at WPRI.com. In the Weather Yard, I'm meteorologist Katie McNeil, 12 News.
All right, Katie, thank you. So northern New England here, a real treat, and 100% coverage. In fact, we have we can show you kind of the. So we're looking now. This is a different angle, TJ. So we're kind of looking from west to actually from southwest to northeast. So we're not looking due north.
You're looking at Buffalo, New York here, and you're kind of like looking out toward Vermont, and we can kind of see the path of totality. It actually starts down to Mexico, moves from Texas, Ohio, right up into western New York.
So we're going to start on the Great Lakes here.
Yep, it'll move right over Rochester, where there's a big viewing party, goes right into one of our favorite places, northern Vermont, up there in Burlington, Lyndonville, the Northeast Kingdom. They're going to get a real treat. They're going to be right in the path of totality up there.
It's amazing. I'm talking to some friends, of course, recently. They've had a ton of snow in the mountains of northern New England. So there's some people that are doing a ski trip and then going to the top of the slopes while they're skiing to view the eclipse and then ski back down.
That's just amazing.
And it's just that is just a
They've
real
gotten
treat.
feet of snow in some of these mountains in April, late March and April, which is amazing. So then it goes right across New Hampshire, part of the presidential range. I think Mount Washington's included in that. And then it moves right into northern Maine and right over into the Atlantic Canada. There are already people up there, and we're recording this on Thursday. There's already out-of-towners all over Vermont and New Hampshire. They're expecting this huge tourism boom up there.
A lot of, we've done stories. I mean, it would be a lot of traffic and just kind of a real big event, and a lot of people heading up in that direction. All right, so we've had so many questions from viewers.
Great questions, too.
On our website. In fact, we covered. We already jumped ahead on this one. Question one is that NASA will be launching 3 rockets during the solar eclipse. And this is from Kim from Swansea. If so, why? Do you know some of the specific things that they're looking at with launching some of these rockets?
Yeah, they're looking to study how the upper atmosphere of the Earth is different when the sunlight momentarily dims. So they're shooting a rocket up 45 minutes before the eclipse, during the eclipse, and then after. And they're going to study different things with the atmosphere. And what's really cool, if you're watching the eclipse, like say down in Westerly, you might actually be able to see the rockets up in the sky during the eclipse, which is really cool. We got a graphic there showing up. They're actually launching the rockets from Virginia at the Wallops Space Facility down there. That purplish, pinkish area. It kind of goes right into westerly. So if you're maybe watching it from Watch Hill, maybe Taylor Swift's watching it from, she maybe can see some rockets down there in westerly. Better chance across Connecticut and New York.
So you're going to go further southwest on that.
Exactly.
All right, question 2. How does the solar eclipse affect the tides? That's from Chris in Pawtucket. Of course, obviously the sun, the moon, and the tides and things like that. Negligible.
Yeah, I mean, typically this is a usual setup with the moon somewhat between the Earth and the sun. It's just more geometry where the moon is just kind of placed exactly right in front of the sun, and that's why these are somewhat rare. But I don't think there's much of an influence in the tides. No.
Someone came up to me on the street and said, "Well, if the sun is much larger than the moon, how does the moon cover the sun?" Well, the fact is, the moon is of course closer to the Earth.
All perspective.
And so it's all perspective. And unlike 2017, this time around the coverage does last a bit longer. I mean, it was rather brief in 2017.
Yeah, it was a little shorter.
So we're thinking around 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So pretty cool there. All right, question 3. This is a great question. What will the UV factor be during the eclipse? How will it vary from the beginning to the end of the event? And that is from Catherine in East Providence. Well, less intense sun at that time, so the UV factor goes up and down.
Yeah, I would assume it would be pretty low at the maximum eclipse, especially if you're in totality. It'll probably be very negligible ultraviolet rays coming in. But locally, there'll be lower ultraviolet rays coming in for a brief period of time. But then, that sun starts to get brighter pretty quick.
All right, so on the day of the eclipse, we have live coverage. I'm going to be streaming the eclipse from different parts of the country, from Burlington as well as locally. We got our photogs have gotten special filters. They're going to be doing a time lapse of the eclipse that day. So we got a lot of good stuff online as well. So if on Monday, a lot of us are working. You can't get outside. Maybe unfortunately, on your phone and on your computer, on your tablets, you can still kind of catch in on the fun. And watch the stuff if you can't get outside.
Yeah, it should be a really exciting day. As you mentioned in the beginning, we've been looking forward to this for years now.
It's been on our calendar for a couple of years. In fact, even in 2017, we knew the next date would. Now, I'm sure hopefully nobody misses this, but we have to wait until 45?
It's like another 20 years or so.
Yeah, for something coming across the United States. So as of now, as of this recording, as of April 4th, we've been looking at the weather data, and talk about threading the needle as far as because we've been so wet and cloudy, and it's typically this time of year. It's March and April kind of cloudy. We're looking at a window where we don't see like a solid overcast or a stormy day. We've got some sunshine in the forecast, and just for the fun of it, we're going to toss in a temperature of 60 degrees.
Imagine
on
that.
Monday afternoon.
You don't have to be cold watching it, which will be different.
All right, so wrapping things up. Don't forget these. You still have time to get them, and like I said, on our website WPRI.com, we have all kinds of information.
Enjoy the eclipse.
We do again, and don't forget we do beyond the forecast once a month, and we got a number of topics that are lined up down the road. I believe in May we're going to be talking about the upcoming hurricane season. So we'll let you know when the next segment is coming up. But we appreciate you tuning in, and have fun, and looking forward to Monday, April 8th. View safely. Thanks for tuning in.